When we heard that we were closing down campus, our first thoughts were, we need to do this safely, with a lot of speed, to transfer over to a new way of virtual learning for the music department. The main considerations of the faculty were fulfilling the academic and the emotional needs of our students. And to do that, we worked all together. We found out the best ways that we can use technology. We made sure that everybody, our students who were living locally, our students who went back to their homes, our students who went back abroad to their homes, were all connected together in a virtual space, but together as one musical community. Music is very collaborative. Music has to take place in a synchronous space. When you're working in a virtual space, there's always a small delay to what you're seeing and what you're hearing. And even the best possible technology setups, there's always going to be a little bit of a delay. It's enough of a delay that musicians are going to be in a disadvantage when they're trying to learn music at a high level. To overcome that, we had to think differently. Let's look at things like solo music. Let's look at the idea that someone creates music for us, like a composer, especially for this sort of virtual scenario. And then we have other musicians perform that music. Let's move away from trying to collaborate with one or more musicians, and let's move towards the solo experience or the digital collaborative experience. And I think a lot of our students thrived in that environment, and a lot of our students, this was their first time working in that environment. Now, the thing about musicians is that they are very flexible, they are very nimble. When you go into a performance hall, you don't know what the space is going to sound like. You don't know what your instruments are going to sound like. You don't always know who the people are that you're going to be collaborating with. So this presented both a very unique challenge, but it also existed in a space that musicians are used to. So everyone rose to the challenge. I think there's a sense of loss that musicians feel in not being able to get this collaborative experience, which is really the essence of music making. That you want to be connected with people. You want to sit next to people. You want to experience the joy and all of the emotions that are associated with making music with people. And when you separate them in space, and you separate them in technology, you lose a lot of that connection that you have with people. So the biggest challenge for us, I think, was trying to regain those connections as best as possible. The music department rose to the occasion by putting community first. We started grand discussions about the history of programming music, about score study, about the background of the composers and how music was written for society at different times. And I think there was sort of a catharsis for the students and the professors to be able to have an open discussion about the role that classical and modern music plays alongside of these social movements. I think when we look back at this time in the future, we're going to remember the challenges, but we're also going to remember that musicians did exactly what artists do, which is rise to the challenge of the times, take in the feelings, the social movements, the challenges of the time, and then we turn that into the art form that we love.